I think it was the former president of France, Charles de Gaulle, that said that politics is too important to be left in the hands of politicians. You know, when I encountered that speech, I thought I was the only one that was struggling with this word, politicians. I'm not a politician, because we have reduced politics to a vocation, a job. Politics is not a job. And I tell my colleagues, if you don't have a job, go and find a job. You need to have done something before you come into leadership. In Nigeria, when we reduced it to Nigeria, I asked a few people, I said, so what were you doing prior to 1999? Because you come out, before 1999, it was military and interregnum between 1979 and 1983. So it means if you were not doing anything, then you are jobless. And you need to go and find a job, do that job well, build a track record, and then come and say, this is what you can do. But the mistake we keep making is that we just call people, hand them leadership, and we expect that they will deliver. You can never give what you don't have. Education is an unending journey of self-delivery, learning insights that shape our interaction with the environment, and ultimately coming to a full awareness of our duty. While an educated person may have an edge in the job market, it also has to be said that a great injustice is done to the learning we acquire if we restrict our entire worldview to the never-ending race for perks and privileges of climbing the corporate ladder. Education is about more, asking more questions of ourselves, the environment we live in, and our experiences therein. It is about challenging the status quo, interrogating the system of the world, and refusing to accept anything as given. Because, as I often say, nothing is too good that it cannot be improved upon. An educated person is therefore not just the man with a certificate that has the logo of a prestigious institution emblazoned on it. They are individuals whose minds have been exposed to think in ways the average person never would, to ask the type of questions the regular person may not contemplate, and to develop the discipline to seek more than surface answers. Education is therefore the quest to find evidence-driven answers to the most important questions of the day, using the tools of reason, logic, and critical thinking. Let me on this note specially congratulate the visionaries whose ideas birthed the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance, SPPG. I want to appreciate you for admitting that the most urgent challenge facing our nation's evolving democracy is largely about poor preparedness on the part of the leading political actors. It has been established that the conventional institutions around the country mostly prepare the young ones for every other responsibility but the dynamics and expectations of political leadership in the new global order. Beyond just identifying the perils of limited preparations by those who mostly control our political, economic, and social destinies, the brilliant men and women behind SPPG took the bull by the horn in establishing an institution dedicated solely to the goal of transforming politics in Nigeria and the rest of Africa by building a massive base and pipeline of a new value-based and disruptive thinking political class with the requisite knowledge and skills to lead effectively. Many may not have seen it yet, but my instinct tells me that this institution, its faculties and alumni will go ahead to redefine the setup and character of our regional and national politics over the next few decades. The broad spectrum of the programs offered by this school covers the most critical value chains in the political process. It is therefore not out of place to expect that whoever passes through the SPPG will be better prepared for the demands and expectations of political leadership in a peculiar environment like ours. I'm particularly happy with the emphasis on ethical and value-driven leadership, political economy, and democratic engagements. The sessions on institution building, citizens' engagement, and innovation in public service would ultimately distinguish SPPG graduates from everyone else in debates, strategy design, and execution in the race for public office. Graduating from this great school will automatically put one in a vantage position to participate in the political process on the strength of superior strategy and connection with the public across multiple frontiers. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me heartily congratulate the graduating class of 2025 for what they have individually and collectively achieved. And for making it to the elite network of SPPG alumni. I'm not a commissioned prophet, but I can tell that the people I see in this auditorium this afternoon will drive the future of political conversations, engagements, and participation across countries. Congratulations on being found worthy of the coveted seal of the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance. Today, you'll be sent forth to bear the light in a system ruled by shadows. You are to shine brightly and become models of excellence wherever you function. I encourage you to do everything in your power to represent this school in the best possible light, for anything else would amount to betrayal of the huge confidence your professors and the institution itself have reposed in you. Politics is often demonized as treacherous and disoriented. I understand all of it because of a truth. The brand of politics we play in Nigeria and many other parts of Africa have certain peculiarities that can overwhelm the unprepared. But again, many of the distinguished personalities in this room have also shown that you can still set yourself apart in public service. Get the job done and live with your name untainted. Let me on this note especially salute the founder again and the chairperson of SPPG Africa, Dr. Abia State, for her philosophical consistency, reason, and decency in the country's political space over the last 2 decades and more. Thank you for inspiring the next generation of leaders. I'm certain that if we can get a few more persons with your patriotic passion and courage, then we can all look to the future from a new lens. I would also like to appreciate everyone involved in the evolution of the SPPG. Thank you for going beyond just whining and protesting, electing instead to set a new paradigm for politics, policy, and governance in our country and Africa as a whole. As I said in my Independence Day remark a few days ago, Nigeria has been called from the bowl of destiny to empower the black race, to inspire our people to greatness and become a constant reminder that it is the mind, not the color of skin, that ultimately determines how far we go in life. Presently, we have failed miserably in this regard. However, I see hope rising on the horizon. And I cannot be more optimistic after much of what I've seen here today and what I've also heard today. The future is bright, but at the same time, nothing should be taken for granted and nothing should be left to chance. The real job is not in the classrooms, it is in the political field, in knocking on doors, interacting with the market women, sharing ideas of a better future with road transport workers, and mobilizing them as agents of change in the push for a new Nigeria and a new Africa that works for all of us. Models, theories, and frameworks are wonderful for learning, but they are ultimately as useful as they can be interpreted and sold to the fellow on the streets. The hawker, the farmer, the artisans, and those whose hard work and resilience lubricate the wheels of our economic progress, but who most times are restricted to mere observers in the political order. To the 2025 SPPG class, I have one charge for you. Go and bring them to the center. Tell them they can no longer remain at the periphery. Remind them that they are the ones who mostly bear the brunt of bad policy decisions, and invite them to step in and become co-owners of the process of electing those who decide our social and economic destinies here in Abuja, across the 36 states of Nigeria, and across the 54 countries in Africa. When we set out to challenge the status quo in Abia more than 10 years ago, we understood clearly that our only path to success was to put the people at the center of the project and have them drive the campaign across the communities. It was our only path to victory. And once the people realized that the movement was about them, they approached it with a missionary zeal. Before the political strongmen in the other parties realized what was happening, we were already coasting home to victory. It was a landslide, but in one of the greatest electoral hits ever witnessed, someone else was announced winner of that election in 2015. That Sunday, April 26, 2015, was one of the darkest days in our history. The atmosphere became charged as throngs of supporters felt let down by the system. Many sought an opportunity to take their anger to the streets. But as a leader, it was my duty to calm frayed nerves and reassure them that ours was a campaign, not a one-off battle. My ardent supporters disagreed with me and insisted that the injustice must be met with street protests and whatever was required to send a strong message to those who plotted the heist. As I told my opponent a few years ago, his governorship dream would have been torpedoed if I had not taken active steps to restrain the anger of the public. I knew what we wanted. Violence was clearly not part of it. As things threatened to escalate in the days that followed, I took to the media to reassure the public that I had an unshaken faith in the capacity of the judiciary to correct the injustice of April 26 and restore our mandate. Expectedly, on December 31, 2015, the Court of Appeal sitting in Owerri ruled that we were the rightful winner of the April gubernatorial election. In an instant, the entire state erupted in jubilation. Unfortunately, our joy was aborted a few weeks later when the Supreme Court on February 3, 2016, overturned the judgment of the appeal court and validated what many, including myself, believed was grave electoral injustice. Meanwhile, on Friday, July 24, 2015, an attempt was made to assassinate me here in Abuja. Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for me, God took me away early in the morning to return to Abia State, and the attack happened at midnight. A lot of people who were in that residence were killed, and we were shocked that I was not in the residence. They jumped to the residence by the right, took over the place. They thought I had scaled the fence. They couldn't see me. They went to the other by the left, and they still couldn't see me. And for those who know a little bit about Abia, that was where the disappearing act. They said the man that I have a disappearing medicine. That matter is still in court. We returned to the trenches ahead of the 2019 general election with the same body of promises, but this time we added an extra layer of commitment, which was defending the votes. Sadly, things got worse, and in this disgraceful charade of an election that took place on March 9, 2019, votes were arbitrarily awarded, and the status quo remained. As I earlier mentioned, we did not approach the campaign with the mentality of a sprint. We knew from the get-go that we were in for a marathon. So 2 contrived failures in quick succession only strengthened our resolve to launch out again in 2023. By now, a new electoral law, which institutionalized the use of technology, had become operational. So there was hope that this time around, we could track outcomes in real time, abort any shenanigans. At any rate, we had also studied the tricks of our opponents and took steps to foil their plots across the 4,062 polling units in the state. The implication was that even in our opponents' strongholds, we had our people staying vigilant, ensuring that not one extra vote was falsely added to any party. When they attempted, when they attempted the usual abracadabra in a few local governments, our people stood their ground, insisting that results must be announced as collated across polling units. Thankfully, the returning officer, Professor Alex Otti, stood her ground, refused to be bribed, and acted like Obi Ezekwesili. Eventually, our faith in people and confidence in the system paid off as we were announced winners after 10 years of dogged struggle. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. We have certainly not hit the perfect mark, but there's a wide consensus that Abia is now on the right trajectory. I'm glad to report that many of the issues that drove our campaign are being steadily addressed. Abia now ranks as one of the cleanest urban destinations in the region. Because order has since been replaced with chaos on the streets. The road network is rated one of the best in the country. Confidence in public institutions is rising simply because our governance template is responsive. Abia has also been rated as one of the safest destinations in the country for residents and travelers. This is happening because we kept the vow we made at the inauguration podium 2023 that we shall not cede 1 inch of our territory to criminals. The people who made the campaign, their project, are still at the center of everything we do. We are regularly talking to them to share our programs, templates, and get feedback. Every month, a no-holds-barred media session is organized with scores of journalists from traditional and new media platforms in attendance. The program is streamed live on more than 40 conventional and social media platforms to enable participation from everywhere. We have also faced the areas we declared emergency on: education and health. We changed the governance template. For you to be recruited to work for Abia State government, it must be meritorious. In 2023, we sought to hire 23 permanent secretaries from the civil service. We asked all the directors who were interested to apply online. Of course, a lot of them struggled, but then we got 425 applications. And then we had to do a test, a computer-based test in CBT. And after that, about 61 were successful. And I sat down and interviewed the 61 of them. By the time I finished the rating, I ruled the line at number 23. From number 1 to number 23 became permanent secretaries, irrespective of where they came from. The person that came second was posted to the government house. Shortly after the appointment, number 1 was head of service, was made head of service, and then the other 22 were permanent secretaries. Six months later, the head of service was going to retire. And I kept her for another 3 months so that I could repeat the process. And we repeated the process. You know what happened? The person that came second now came first. And he is the head of service in Abia State. But that's not the story. The story is that the head of service from Abia State, for the first time, is a man who does not come from Abia State. He does not come from the southeast. He comes from Edo State. So what we have introduced in Abia is that we are blind to ethnicity, religion, state. Thank you. And you know, there's also an advantage to it. Because the man doesn't come from Abia State. He doesn't show up in the office. Oh, my traditional ruler came to me to say we must do this. Or people from my village are saying we must do something for them. Now, we also did that with education. We found that our educational system was completely gone. Infrastructure, teachers, and most importantly, curricula. I wasn't thinking of SPPG, but I reached out to my sister, Alero, and dragged her to Abia with her team, the area team. They are still there. In fact, when she sent me a message, I was wondering if she was in Abia. She said she was in Abuja. So, and they've been retraining the teachers. We are rehabilitating virtually every school. We are introducing 20 smart schools. The big elephant in the room, teachers. So the first thing we did, we found that a lot of teachers had jumped ship, gone to other areas of the civil service because teachers were being owed salaries. By the way, we had all the areas we inherited, we paid them off in the first 6 months. So we now said, okay, we will introduce discriminatory compensation package for teachers. That we also did for doctors. In fact, we pay doctors more than the federal government pays. So what happened was that all those former teachers who were hiding in different areas of the civil service jumped out because they were now getting more pay. So, but that was not enough. So we also opened a portal and we said, those who want to teach, it doesn't matter where you come from, please apply. First week, I got 16,000 applications. Second week, it got to about 35,000, so I shut the portal. And we started the CBT. After the CBT, I think 12,000 passed. So Alero and her team started the oral interviews. By the time we finished, as at Monday last week, 22nd of September, when schools resumed, 5,394 teachers have joined us. We have 948 primary health care centers in Abia. None of them was working. So we took them 200. We said we'll do 200. When we finish with the first 200, we'll do. Took 184 from the 184 walls, and then another 16. And we are rehabilitating them, fitting them out, posting healthcare professionals. We also saw that we didn't have healthcare professionals, so we had to open a portal again. Interestingly, we have, the process is on, but we had applications from the Gambia, from Sierra Leone, from Namibia. So that is another way of japa from there, right? So, and I've asked our people to ensure that we hire them. That is being handled by Pastor Jerry's wife. So you can be sure nothing can go wrong. Why I've taken time to explain all this to you is simple. To prepare your mind for what you are going to face in the world of real politicking. It is not going to be easy, as you shall find yourselves in the midst of wolves and scorpions. And I use the words measurably. You will be betrayed, even by persons in your inner circle. And at several times, you will find yourself wondering if you are not just wasting your time. People will tell you things they don't mean. And you may be compelled to frequently pinch yourself to wonder if you are dealing with human beings or a different order of creation. Politics, I can tell you, is never for the faint-hearted. But again, the weak never really get onto this path. So having come this far, I know for sure that you have made up your mind to lead a philosophical revolution in our political thinking and practice. May I plead with you that however tough it gets, do not give up. Never abandon the struggle. When thou set in, as they inevitably would, remember the story I just narrated about the ordeal we faced in Abia, the efforts and the setbacks, and then the eventual victory. Think of the factors that motivated you in the first place. And never forget that it's not about you, but about your land, our continent, our people, and the generation coming after us. We cannot afford to introduce them to the present system of mediocrity. Something must give, and I trust you to lead the way. I also encourage you to stay close to each other, support one another, build an extensive network of like minds, and convince the ordinary man you meet on your way to work every day that it is their struggle and not your struggle. As I told the September class, we introduced the Leadership Academy in Abia. This race is not for a select few. It is for all of us. And we must run it with our might, our hearts, and everything in us. Victory may delay, but if there is anything to learn from our story, it is the fact that every resistance melts at the altar of persistence.